Ever heard about a place where UFO sightings are so common they practically have traffic jams in the sky?
Sounds like my kind of place.
Well, we're diving into one of those hotspots today, Lake Erie. And we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill, I saw a light in the sky kind of reports.
No, we're talking detailed accounts. Multiple witnesses, even some radar confirmations.
This is the Lake Erie UFO Flap, folks. And trust me, it's a wild ride.
Buckle up.
So, to start, what exactly makes a UFO flap? I mean, people see weird stuff in the sky all the time, right?
You're right, but a flap is different. It's a cluster of sightings, a wave of reports all happening in the same area and around the same time.
Like a sudden surge.
Yeah,
Okay, got it. So Lake Erie, we're talking about the Great Lakes region, right? Big, beautiful, full of UFOs, full of mystery, that's for sure. And yes, the Great Lakes, specifically Lake Erie, has a long history of unusual sightings.
All right, paint me a picture. What kind of things were people reporting? I'm imagining flashing lights, maybe a blurry saucer here and there. Oh, it's way more than just blurry lights. Think structured craft, sometimes triangular, sometimes more like discs. The descriptions get pretty detailed.
Really? So not your typical, I think I saw something, but it could have been a drone kind of report?
No, these were up close and personal. And the way these things moved, even experienced pilots were baffled.
Wait, pilots? So we're not talking about your average Joe mistaking a weather balloon for an alien spaceship.
We're talking trained observers, people who know the sky, reporting things like sudden accelerations, instant changes in direction, even objects appearing and disappearing.
Hold on. That's where I start to get a little skeptical. I mean, perception can be tricky, right? Especially when you're dealing with something unexpected. Is there any hard evidence to back up these claims?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most compelling cases comes from 1988. A commercial airline pilot flying over Lake Erie reported seeing a massive triangular craft.
Okay, a pilot sighting, that's definitely interesting. But pilots can make mistakes too, right?
Sure, but here's the kicker. His sighting was corroborated by radar data. Air traffic control picked up an unidentified object matching his description.
Whoa, okay, so it wasn't just him. Radar confirmation, that changes things. And we're talking about radar from back in '88, right? Was it sophisticated enough to rule out glitches or misinterpretations?
They were using an ASR-9 system.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't as advanced as what we have today, but it was considered very reliable. It could differentiate between aircraft, weather, and other objects. And in this case, they couldn't identify what they were seeing.
All right, that's pretty compelling evidence. A trained pilot, radar confirmation, an unidentified object. We're not in blurry photo territory anymore. This sounds like something straight out of the X-Files.
Well, speaking of investigations, this case was actually documented in Project Blue Book.
Ah, Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigation, right? Did they ever come up with any explanations for what was going on over Lake Erie?
They investigated thousands of UFO reports, and while they were able to explain many as misidentified aircraft, weather phenomena, hoaxes even, there was a small percentage that remained unexplained.
And this 1988 Lake Erie case, that falls into the unexplained category.
You got it. No definitive answers there.
So we've got this intriguing pilot sighting, backed up by radar, no clear explanation, but we're talking about a whole wave of sightings, a flap. What else was happening during this time?
Picture this. It's 1989. You're reading the local newspaper, and there on the front page is a story about a group of people seeing a disc-shaped object hovering over the lake, emitting strange lights.
Hold on, what kind of group of people? Were we talking about alien enthusiasts looking for a close encounter?
Not at all. These were credible witnesses, including off-duty police officers. They all described seeing the same thing.
Okay, a pilot, radar, multiple witnesses. Things are starting to get a little spooky here. How were people reacting to all this back then? Was it mass hysteria, or were folks genuinely concerned?
It was a mix, really. You had those who were skeptical, naturally, chalked it up to overactive imaginations, maybe a desire for attention. But then you had those, especially those who had seen something themselves, who were genuinely bewildered.
Yeah, I can imagine. Seeing something in the sky you can't explain, something that moves in ways that seem impossible, that would definitely leave an impression.
Absolutely. And of course, wherever there's a mystery, there are theories trying to explain it.
Oh, I bet the theories were flying faster than the UFOs themselves.
You're not wrong. And that takes us into some of the most commonly discussed explanations for the Lake Erie UFO flap, which we can unpack a bit further. But the important thing to remember is this wasn't just about lights in the sky. It had a real impact on the people living in the area.
All right, so we've set the stage. A surge of UFO sightings, some incredibly detailed, even confirmed by radar. No easy answers. Now let's dive into the theories and see if we can shed some light on what might be behind this enduring mystery.
You know, when you really start digging into the Lake Erie UFO flap, you find it's not just this isolated thing.
You mean other places have UFO flaps?
Exactly. Especially around bodies of water. It's a recurring pattern.
Hold on, wait a minute. So it's not just Lake Erie. We're talking like oceans, rivers, other lakes.
Think about the Tic Tac UFO. That was off the coast of California.
Oh, yeah, that one. Navy pilots, right?
Yep. And they saw this strange oblong object, and it was moving in ways that defied physics.
Sounds familiar. Similar to the Lake Erie description.
Very similar. And in both cases, you have credible witnesses, military personnel, reporting these incredible movements.
So is there something about water? I mean, is it easier for these things to operate near water or something? Or is it just coincidence?
That's a great question. It's a question a lot of people are asking, and honestly, we don't know the answer. Some people think it could be related to, like, water's unique properties, maybe the way it conducts energy, or maybe the vast depths provide some kind of concealment.
Interesting. So we've got these objects, sometimes with crazy maneuverability, and they seem to like water. Okay, let's get into the theories. What are some of the main explanations for the Lake Erie UFO flap?
Well, there are a few main categories, and each one has its strengths and its weaknesses.
Lame on me.
First, you've got the idea of secret military technology.
Okay, secret military tech. So basically, these sightings could be top secret aircraft or experimental projects that the government's keeping under wraps.
Precisely. I mean, governments have a history of developing things in secret. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
That's true, but wouldn't they test that kind of stuff in a more remote area? You know, away from populated regions like Lake Erie.
You'd think so, right? But maybe, just maybe, Lake Erie provides some unique advantages for testing.
Like what?
Well, think about the weather. Lake Erie is known for its pretty unpredictable weather patterns.
Yeah, those lake effect snowstorms can be brutal.
Exactly. And those frequent electrical storms. They might provide a good testing ground for certain types of aircraft or even propulsion systems.
Interesting. So they're taking advantage of the crazy weather to see how these, like, hypothetical super advanced craft perform in extreme conditions.
Could be. And then there's the question of whether the technology involved might be something we don't even fully understand yet.
Something we don't even understand. Okay, now we're talking.
Right. Some researchers have proposed things like hypersonic flight or even exotic propulsion systems based on electromagnetic fields.
So tech that's way ahead of what we know. Is there anything specific to the Lake Erie sightings that would support this theory?
Remember that 1988 pilot sighting we talked about? The one with the radar confirmation?
Yeah.
Well, some researchers believe that the object's radar signature, the way it was detected by the ASR-9 system, could point toward a craft capable of hypersonic speeds.
Makes sense. I mean, normal aircraft from that time couldn't have moved like that.
Exactly. So if it wasn't a conventional aircraft and it wasn't just a weather anomaly,
Then what was it? This is where the alien theory comes in.
y'all got it. It's one of the most popular explanations for UFO sightings. And the Lake Erie flap, with those seemingly impossible flight capabilities, well, it's definitely given that theory some fuel.
Alien spacecraft buzzing around Lake Erie? I gotta admit, that's a pretty mind-blowing idea. But if these are aliens, why are they here? What's the purpose of hanging out over a lake?
Those are the big questions. And unfortunately, we just don't have any solid answers. Some people think maybe they're studying our planet. Others say maybe they're drawn to our water resources.
Water resources. That's an interesting thought. But without any direct contact or communication, it's all just speculation.
It is. And you know, honestly, one of the biggest challenges to the extraterrestrial theory is the whole logistics thing. I mean, interstellar travel, as we understand it, would take an enormous amount of energy and time.
Yeah, the distances are mind-boggling. Even if you could travel at the speed of light, it would still take years to get here from another star system.
Right. But then some proponents of the alien theory suggest that these civilizations might have technology that's far beyond our comprehension. Maybe they've figured out how to manipulate space-time or use wormholes or something.
Wormholes. Now we're getting into some serious sci-fi territory.
I know, right? But I guess we have to keep an open mind. If we limit ourselves to what we currently understand, we might miss out on something truly amazing.
True. But let's be real, not every UFO sighting can be attributed to aliens visiting from another galaxy. There's got to be a more down-to-earth explanation for at least some of these reports, right?
Of course. And that's where the natural phenomena explanation comes in.
Okay, break it down for me. How could natural events explain something as strange as a giant triangular craft hovering over a lake?
Well, remember, Lake Erie is known for its unpredictable weather, right? Those intense electrical storms, the temperature changes. Well, some researchers think that those unusual atmospheric conditions could be creating optical illusions or visual distortions.
So those strange lights and shapes could actually be distorted reflections of normal things like airplanes, the satellites, maybe even just the sunset, or some weird lightning effect.
Exactly. Light can act in some pretty strange ways under certain atmospheric conditions. We know things like temperature inversions and changes in air density can create mirages. And those mirages could be mistaken for solid objects.
So what someone thinks is a solid, structured craft could actually be just a trick of the light, a mirage caused by the unique atmosphere over the lake.
It's definitely something to consider. I mean, there are documented cases of mirages creating incredibly realistic images, images that have fooled even experienced observers.
So we've been throwing around some pretty wild theories here. Government secrets, aliens, atmospheric anomalies. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone, but real life. But before we go full sci-fi, let's take a minute to talk about the human side of all this. This isn't just an abstract debate. It's something that has directly affected the people living around Lake Erie.
You're right, it's not just a theoretical discussion. Imagine living in a place where strange lights and unexplained objects are being reported all the time. It's bound to have an impact on how people think and feel, and even how they live their daily lives.
So what has the effect been? I mean, how has the Lake Erie UFO flap impacted the communities around the lake? Is it all just spooky campfire stories and alien conspiracy theories, or is there more to it than that?
It's a mixed bag, really. On the one hand, there's no doubt that the mystery has brought a certain level of attention to the region. Lake Erie has become a bit of a hotspot for UFO enthusiasts and
I can
tourists.
see that. I mean, people fascinated by the unknown. The Lake Erie UFO flap has become a kind of magnet for people searching for answers.
Right. And for some local businesses, that's translated into a boost in tourism. You've got people coming from all over to check out the sites of reported sightings, to go to UFO conferences, to talk to witnesses, to try and experience it for themselves. It's a whole subculture that's sprung up around this phenomenon.
A UFO tourism boom, who would have thought? But I'm guessing not everyone is thrilled about their hometown turning into a UFO central. Have there been any negative reactions from the local community?
Oh, definitely. Some residents see it as a nuisance. Some even find it a little embarrassing. I mean, who wants to be known as the town where everyone sees UFOs, right? They worry that it'll attract unwanted attention or make their community seem like a haven for, well, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I get that. It's a tough balance, trying to embrace the intrigue while still maintaining a sense of normalcy.
And it goes beyond just the tourism and the skepticism. There's a social and cultural impact, too. You've got to remember this has sparked a lot of conversation, a lot of debate, and even some anxiety among the people living there.
Anxiety, as in people are genuinely worried about these unexplained things in the sky.
It's not uncommon, especially for people who have had their own unexplainable experiences. They might worry about what it all means. What are the implications of extraterrestrial life? Could these objects pose some sort of threat? It's a natural human response to the unknown.
Makes sense. But hasn't it also, in a way, brought people together? I mean, shared experiences, even strange ones, can create a sense of community, right?
Absolutely. And the Lake Erie UFO flap has definitely done that for many people. It's fostered a sense of community engagement and even scientific inquiry. People are talking to each other, sharing their stories, their information, trying to make sense of it all together.
So it's like real-life X-Files is playing out in these communities. They're becoming amateur investigators, sharing theories, maybe even making new friends through their shared fascination with the unknown.
And that brings us to an interesting point. The Lake Erie UFO flap, as unique as it seems with the location and the number of reports, is not an isolated incident. There have been similar flaps in other parts of the world. And interestingly, many of them are near bodies of water, which raises some intriguing questions.
Yeah, it's like a big cosmic puzzle, and we're still trying to figure out where all the pieces fit. Are we alone? Are we being visited? Or are there more down-to-earth explanations that we just haven't discovered yet? It's a mystery that keeps unfolding.
Those are questions that have fascinated humans for a long, long time. And the Lake Erie UFO flap, with its compelling eyewitness accounts, that unexplained radar data, and the wide range of theories it spawned, well, it represents a little piece of that larger mystery.
So after diving deep into this, where do we stand? Are we any closer to figuring out what's really happening over Lake Erie?
To be honest, I think we have even more questions now than we did when we started, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Lake Erie UFO Flap challenges us to think outside the box, to consider possibilities that might seem a little uncomfortable at first. It reminds us that there's still so much we don't know about the universe, about our place in it, about what might be out there.
That's a humbling thought, isn't it? The fact that despite all our scientific advances, there are still mysteries that completely defy explanation. And maybe, just maybe, some of those mysteries are happening right here, close to home.
The Lake Erie UFO Flap really is a reminder to stay curious, to keep our minds open, and to never stop asking questions, because who knows, one day we might just unlock the secrets of these phenomena and discover truth that could change the way we understand the world around us.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Lake Erie UFO Flap. We've explored the evidence, the theories, and the impact this enduring mystery has had on those who have experienced it firsthand. Until next time, keep looking up, keep exploring, and keep those minds open to the wonders and the mysteries of the universe.